Sure, I'll keep my meals under $30 as per the policy. I'll make sure it's $30 every single time, by user Cinnamon Boonbin. I do a lot of fly-in fly-out travel for my job. Usually I am so busy with work while on-site or I am stationed somewhere with food options I don't want to waste my calories on, and I don't eat anything the whole day or just buy a coffee. Our employee expenses policy at work is $30 a day, which is mostly fine. But there are some high cost of living cities and sometimes my meals go above that policy because there is not many options, especially if I want to eat healthy, which is important when you are constantly on the road. Plus so many airports have completely shut down their food courts and haven't reopened them yet, so there's hardly any options but fast food. So I submit my expenses one month and I have gone $1.50 over the daily limit because I treated myself to a coffee that morning as well as a lunch because I was tired after the god-awful early flight I had to take. The company had recently changed their policy and now a different set of people are approving expenses. The previous people didn't mind going over by a few bucks because it balances out with trips where I didn't eat anything, but this new group are absolute sticklers and rejected the expense, citing I was over the daily limit. I tried to argue I had 10 other visits that month in which I didn't eat a single thing, but they still weren't budging. It really left a sour taste in my mouth. Now every single visit I force myself to spend as close to $30 as I can because fuck them. My husband is happy because it means I now bring back, slightly squished but free, food for him. I feel bad for wasting food, but often I just buy a meal and eat a few bites and throw it in the bin. However, the expense policy is $30 a day and by God I am going to stick to it now. While in the past I might have billed $100 for the entire month because I didn't bother to eat, I am now billing twice or three times that. I also used to push myself to keep working all day, but now I religiously take my 30 minutes to go and buy some food, so that's 30 minutes less work they are getting from me too. We didn't break any laws, sure. Go to the authorities, by user_loyalist. This story took place back in the mid-90s. My wife and I were newly married and our daughter was still an infant. My wife worked in healthcare as a home care nurse, traveling from house to house looking after people. However, after our daughter was born, she did not want a job that put her on the road so much and shifts in the evening. So, she applied to be a cleaner at the military base near our community. Two things about our situation that are noteworthy. One is that my wife is a visible minority, and second, as a healthcare worker, she logs everything as a force of habit. The company that hired her was a national company. The base office usually had 5 employees. One had recently quit because her husband was moving with his military job to another part of the country. So, the local boss hired my wife to replace her. The 4 other workers were tight. Louise was the boss, who hired her best friend Donna, Donna's brother Dan, and Louise's niece Tracy. My wife was a true outsider. She immediately saw things were not quite on the level. Even though my wife was paid from 4 p.m. to midnight, she was home by 8 p.m. every night. She was also excluded from cleaning the buildings that housed the engineering and tenancy offices. Occasionally, when she would clean those offices, she saw her colleagues rifling through desks and filing cabinets, photocopying documents, and other shady stuff. My wife also saw Louise threaten a soldier with extra duties for not opening doors fast enough. Louise's husband was a senior NCO in the unit. But jobs were hard to find at the time, so my wife was willing to accept a little discomfort to her ethics. However, after a few months, the racial epithets started. It started with a nickname. Then morphed into slurs and then rumors about her. They started telling racial jokes without trying to hide it. When my wife complained to the 4 of them that she was uncomfortable, she got called weak, and they threatened her employment. My wife told them that she would go to the head office. So, she called the head office from work. Stuart, from HR, dressed down my wife over women's talk and she needed to thicken her skin and not be too sensitive. My wife countered that she would go to the authorities. Stuart said no laws have been broken, so she should go to the authorities. Good luck. Later that shift, she was fired for attitude. So, my wife went to the authorities. Just not the police. She went to the Human Rights Commission and to the military base headquarters. She gave both photocopies of her logs. The human rights investigation determined that there was a work environment that tolerated racist behaviors. That garnered an apology and an acknowledgement from Stuart with a smug comment that they will henceforth include a clause about racial sensitivity in their employee paperwork. He even made a comment to my wife that essentially, this was nothing. However, behind the scenes, the base had been doing their own investigation. Some of the people whose desks had been rifled in the tenancy buildings had reported that they suspected they had been snooped through. The dates of some of their reports matched my wife's logs on the dates she was there. Louise threatening a soldier was followed up, and it was discovered that Louise's husband had chastised the soldier and arranged for him to do 2 weeks extra duties. A violation of an abuse of authority statute. The contract with the base required 40 hours of service per day. The base pulled the security and key logs showing that work was always done by 8 p.m. The base was paying for 40 hours per day and getting 20 hours service. There was a clause in the cleaning contract that stated that federal government human rights regulations needed to be followed. The results of the Commission's investigation determined that they were in violation. Other bases were contacted to see what was going on with this company, and they found out others were having similar issues. As a result, the base broke the contract with cause. It was a 5-year contract broken after the 2nd year. Louise, Donna, Dan, and Tracy were suddenly out of work. The next cleaning company came in. All personnel had to undergo vetting for security. All cleaning was done during the day, preventing people from rifling desks. 40 hours was 40 hours, and cleaners were not authorized to engage soldiers beyond casual "how are you" conversations. My wife went back to health care. However, every once in a while she wonders what Stuart thinks of women's talk now. Edit to clarify a few points. First, thanks for your comments. Makes me realize that even though I think the story is complete enough to tell, the odd detail could have been added to make the story more clear, yet not compromise identities of the people in the story. I am Canadian. I grew up in bilingual communities, French/English, and my various school systems I attended growing up has had an impact on my spellings, realize, behavior, skeptical, etc. The desk snooping was in the base housing offices. The 4 cleaners all lived in base housing. So, they were looking up gossip-worthy material on their neighbors and friends, etc. They were also looking to see what major contracts were coming for house repairs, e.g. window replacement. It was not classified material. While the 4 of them lost employment, they were not held accountable. The company that had the contract just laid them off. So, they were able to find work again shortly. However, just not as cleaners. Cleaners had a reliability screening to work on the base even prior to this. However, it is as simple as a criminal record check, not much more. After this, the cleaners never worked in an area without supervision, and always during the same workday as the people in the offices. The NCO who chastised the soldier was called to task for that. He ended up getting moved a year later, with a bit of a shadow following him. However, it did not last long and there was no permanent career mark left. Finally, we were very young. My wife and I are, and were, not the type to rock the boat. I was brand new in the military and did not want to be labeled as a problem soldier. So, we remained quiet for too long. After this, both of us grew our confidence and were able to move on. We don't stay quiet too long when something is not right. Thanks. Screw her over on probation period. Okay, by user Sugarman111. Not me, this happened to my sister-in-law. She's quite a lot younger than me and was working part-time in a chain shoe shop whilst studying. After graduating with a business degree, she was offered a job managing one of the shoe stores. This obviously seemed like a fantastic opportunity for her first role as a graduate. She was on a probationary period for 3 months and after that her salary would increase, although the probationary period could be extended. She hated it. The owner would give her instructions and later that day his girlfriend would come in and give her opposite instructions, then criticize her for the way she had worked and micromanage her until she did it her way. The girlfriend wasn't part of the business at all but still didn't want to cause any issues, so didn't argue. However, it was causing her a lot of stress. I noticed she lost quite a bit of weight. It came to a bit of a head when Sil had spent a few hours sorting the filing out, then went to the shop to serve customers. When she went back to finish the filing, girlfriend had gone through it all and messed it up, saying she'd organized it differently for her, wasting hours of Sil's time and causing her more work. Sil suspected they were going to extend her probationary period to screw her over, even though she was doing a great job despite being sabotaged and micromanaged. Her staff loved her and sales were higher. So she started looking for another job. Surprise, they extended her probationary period but she found a job paying more and 10 minutes from her flat. They wanted her to work ASAP but she was sure she had to work her notice period, which was 6 weeks. She asked me to read her contract to see if I can confirm. The notice was indeed 6 weeks, except for staff on probation. Either party could terminate with 1 week's notice. Sil tells owner she's quitting and giving 1 week's notice. Owner is caught on the hop and can't find another manager that quickly. Tells Sil her notice period is 6 weeks, to which she takes great delight in pointing out that her probationary period has been extended and the required notice is 1 week. Sil has been at the new job for quite a while now and is much happier. Edit, lots of people saying you can quit when you want. I should have clarified that we're in the UK, some of you have correctly sussed that out, where contracts can be enforced. What could they do if she was contracted to a longer notice period and refused to work it? It's never happened to me or anyone I know, but the internet tells me they could theoretically bill her for the cost difference to bring someone in to cover the remaining notice period, although this could be costly and unlikely. Really enjoying they puns, trying to get through and give everyone an upvote. Brand new manager tries to fire me, let's see how this ends, by user JMax1. Sorry if this is a book. VA equals Veterans Affairs, you will see this in some of my replies. I am a 100% disabled vet, but I still wanted to work for as long as I can. I worked in a large company that contracted to many of the big oil companies. For years I had excellent reviews and the customers loved me. My manager got promoted and one of my co-workers became the newly promoted manager. He started out fine, but then as he went through management training he became that boss people hate. He was trying to flex his muscles by using all the usual tricks of setting you up to fail in order to fire me and a couple others. Why? I have no idea. One day at work I had a major medical emergency that left the right half my body with no feeling at all, completely numb. That took me out of the office for several weeks while they used steroids to try and help sort out the issue. A couple months and a MRI and spinal tap later they discovered I had multiple sclerosis. After I was diagnosed he decided to pull me out of the customer site and have me work in the office. My job had zero office work. I spent nearly a year in the office getting paid to do stupid mind-numbing BS while he tried to figure out how a way to fire me. Since the initial issue was medical it proved to be very difficult, so he would try to assign me to long-term duties, like 6 months, 100s of miles from home, knowing I could not do them. He also was nitpicking any menial task I did not perform to his liking. He knew I could not travel as I have to see several doctors every month and I can only refill medications from my local VA, Veterans Affairs, clinic. While he was trying to fire me, I was talking to HR about my disability and how it's obvious that I could no longer perform my job for safety concerns. That was the reason my boss pulled me into the office. I also informed HR about how the manager treated me and several other employees. They had me do several things, including sending my medical records to a company medical doctor to make sure I was being honest, I assume. In the end, HR decided to put me out on pre-approved early retirement with short and long-term disability. Now I will get paid from the company till I am 67. All before he could get to the chance of firing me. Additionally, several other workers quit around the same time as me, and a short time after I left he was replaced by a different coworker. Thanks boss. Legal action if I don't delete my files? Okay then, by user Xmintix. I had a decent job, pay was weak, but it was easy and my team was really good with me. Then COVID happened and my manager colleagues lost sight that being a manager is a duty to serve your team and not a right to be power hungry. They'd post in chat cruel or nasty things about team members and fuel gossip. After witnessing this I decided I want out and gave my manager the heads up I was leaving and then went on my leave. I was told that no job could accommodate my needs. I tried to swing my hours and stay working from home, and should be lucky to find better. This didn't go down well and they slowly dissolved my department and made my team's life hell. I took a photo of the instant messenger and sent it to a colleague to whistleblow. Despite nothing to say the group I am was confidential, I got served with a cease, desist, and delete or legal action. Now, during COVID I made many reports to make working from home a doddle. This was many Excel/Google Sheets docs that fed into each other. And access to policies. All the shebang. That people need on the fly. These were being used on the daily, many times. Well, okay, you want me to delete all documents from home? And my personal accounts? Not a problem. The next day I had people asking where the reporting had gone. I just watched it all unfold. The kicker. I found a job that gave me all I asked for and a pay increase. Lovely.